Alice freezes when she realizes that inside her bathroom mirror, two unfamiliar faces have suddenly appeared. The sight leaves her speechless, but the strange events are only beginning. To make sure she isn't seeing things, Alice calls over a close friend to check the mirror with her. What confuses Alice most is this: no matter how carefully her friend looks, all she sees is an ordinary mirror. But from Alice's point of view, on the other side of the glass, there is clearly a young man holding up his phone and recording everything. Even stranger than that, he can see Alice and her friend on this side too, yet on his phone screen, Ivan has only recorded himself. To understand what is going on, we have to go back a few days. Alice, a young social media specialist, is looking for a nicer apartment in central St. Petersburg. The landlord wants long-term tenants, so married couples are given preference. Seeing how many people have come to view the place, Alice knows her chances are slim. Just as she is about to leave disappointed, a complete stranger suddenly walks up, puts an arm around her, and claims to be her husband. He even says he has a steady job, and that the two of them definitely do not have any pets. At first, Alice assumes this is simply a case of two strangers helping each other out, so she immediately plays along with Ivan and helps sell their fake marriage story. What Alice does not realize is that once the two of them become the final applicants, the real conflict begins. Ivan, a party-loving bartender, wants the exact same apartment. Naturally, Alice refuses to back down, especially because, at this point, she still has the chance to sign the lease. Neither one is willing to give in, until after some arguing, Ivan suggests the simplest and seemingly fairest solution. They will flip a coin to decide who gets the apartment, but Alice has no intention of leaving it to chance. With Ivan nearly out of options, Alice still refuses to budge. She splashes her hot coffee all over the signed lease, then immediately asks the leasing agent for a fresh copy. By the time Ivan comes back looking miserable, Alice has already managed to become the apartment's official tenant. Neither of them realizes that this ordinary fight over an apartment is about to tie their lives together in a way neither could imagine. On Alice's very first night in the new place, she is still excited, thinking she can finally settle into a calmer life. Then, out of nowhere, an ear-splitting noise erupts, as if somewhere inside the building, someone is throwing a huge party that is going to last all night. The loud laughter and voices, mixed with the clinking of glasses, make it impossible for Alice to sleep. Finally, completely fed up, she goes looking for whoever is making the noise, but after searching floor after floor, Alice cannot find any sign of a party. The entire building is eerily quiet, as if everything she heard was nothing more than a bizarre hallucination. But the moment she returns to her apartment, the pounding music starts again. This time, Alice follows the sound and slowly walks into the bathroom, where she freezes at an impossible sight. The mirror does not show her reflection at all. Instead, she sees Ivan standing there with another woman. From that night on, Alice becomes deeply uneasy whenever she has to enter the bathroom. Every time she goes in, she covers the mirror with a blanket. Alice is afraid of the glass itself, and even more afraid that someone will appear inside it again. Sure enough, before long, a strange, low voice comes from behind the mirror. Despite how unsettled she feels, Alice slowly moves closer. On the other side, the man in the mirror peers beneath the blanket and notices every move she makes. Even with all this, Alice does not immediately call for help, because she has realized that aside from her, no one else can see the people in the mirror. That strange bathroom mirror seems to open a doorway meant only for her. Ivan, on the other side, is just as confused. To prove Alice really exists, he brings his friend Frol over to check, but from Frol's perspective, the mirror looks completely normal, with no sign of Alice, or anything else unusual. After hearing Ivan explain it with a straight face, Frol assumes he simply drank too much last night, and still has not sobered up. Faced with something she cannot explain, Alice is close to panicking. She feels as if she has suddenly gained an invisible roommate, one only she can perceive. To make matters worse, that roommate is a total party animal, who has no problem turning night into day. Alice begins to wonder whether there really is another world inside the mirror, or whether she is losing her ability to tell reality from imagination. Desperate to get away from it all, Alice considers moving out immediately, but before she can act on it, Konstantin, her boss and lover, pushes back. As a psychologist, Konstantin argues that the apartment is well located and already paid for, so leaving now would only cost Alice more money. With no easy option left, Alice pretends the story happened to a friend, to test his reaction to what she has experienced. Konstantin calmly tells her there is nothing to worry about. In the end, Alice gives in, because because both common sense and circumstance leave her no choice but to stay in the apartment. If she cannot run from it, she decides to face her fear instead. So when the time comes, Alice gathers all her courage and speaks directly to Ivan through the mirror. What they are seeing is far beyond anything either of them can understand. It is as if they are living in the same apartment. They can see each other's every move, and even hear each other's voices, yet between the two of them, there is still always a physical barrier neither one can cross. Even stranger than that, the views outside their windows are nearly identical. It is as if some unknown force has copied reality into two parallel versions. Right at that moment, Ivan suddenly comes up with a surprisingly bold theory. Their fight over the apartment that day may have somehow caused reality to split into two branches, with each branch leading to a completely different outcome. In the other version of reality, Alice never spilled coffee on the lease. Instead, she backed down, so Ivan was the one who signed the contract and moved into the apartment alone. From that moment on, the large bathroom mirror became the only window connecting the two realities, and because of that, Alice and Ivan, living in different realities, were finally able to enter each other's lives. One day, while Ivan is cleaning the apartment, he glances through the mirror and sees Konstantin. The man is even striking ridiculous poses, admiring his own body in the mirror. Konstantin is so full of himself that even the confident Ivan finds him unbearable. But Ivan has no idea that the real trouble is only beginning. While Alice still believes in her relationship with Konstantin, the doorbell suddenly rings, and the woman who walks in turns out to be Konstantin's wife. He was never truly single at all. Alice is completely stunned as his furious wife demands answers. Konstantin remains disturbingly calm and coldly tries to talk his way out of it. Alice's entire world comes crashing down. She panics and runs into the bathroom and finally realizes the truth. All the love she poured into the relationship was built on a lie. Even worse than that, Konstantin shows no remorse at all. Instead, he turns around and blames his own wife, claiming she is upsetting his patient. Alice, Konstantin's carefully constructed excuse, even makes his wife hesitate for a moment. But no matter how carefully a lie is prepared, something will eventually give it away. When his wife steps into the kitchen for some water, a romantic note left there blows his entire cover. The whole painful confrontation is witnessed by Ivan from the other side of the mirror. That night, all the pain Alice has been holding in for so long finally comes pouring out. She feels as if she is falling into a bottomless pit, with nothing left to hold on to, until even breathing feels heavy with despair. Then Ivan's voice cuts through, pulling her back from the edge. Alice shakily sits up in the bathtub, exhausted and completely worn down. Fragile and unsure of what to do next, Ivan does not leave. He simply stays on the other side and talks to her, little by little drawing her attention away from the pain. They watch old Soviet movies together, until Alice eventually falls asleep. But the next morning, the doorbell breaks the silence again. Konstantin has the nerve to show up again, trying to get back together with Alice. This time, Alice makes it clear she doesn't love him anymore. She refuses to fall back into the same cycle. Ivan also decides to help Alice cut herself off from that toxic relationship for good. He grabs his guitar and, in his awkward but sincere way, he starts singing softly to help Alice forget what she has just been through. But Konstantin, still outside the door, refuses to give up. Seeing him keep pulling Alice back in, Ivan decides she needs a cleaner break. The first thing she has to do is cut off every way Konstantin can contact her. Then she takes two more decisive steps. Alice leaves her old workplace and changes the lock, giving herself no easy way back to her old life. As each step falls into place, Konstantin's presence in her life gradually begins to fade. Alice finds a new job, and she slowly starts rebuilding herself after the breakup. After everything that happened, her relationship with Ivan begins to change too. To return the favor, Alice starts using the mirror to overhear what the women around him really want, then feeds that information back to Ivan so he can understand them and respond more smoothly. But the more she watches, the more superficial Ivan's lifestyle seems. He keeps moving from one casual relationship to the next, effortlessly charming one woman after another wherever he goes, and sometimes even walking away with a few extra perks. Then one woman comes along and breaks his usual pattern. She is not playing games or testing him. She genuinely wants a serious relationship with Ivan, but Ivan has no idea how to respond when Alice relays those sincere feelings to him, so he stays quiet for a long moment. Ivan does not want to hurt the woman, but he cannot return her feelings either, so he chooses to turn her down on honestly. The woman immediately bursts into tears, leaving Ivan completely flustered, and unsure how to comfort her. Beneath that carefree attitude is a fear of real intimacy. Ivan's easygoing, flirtatious lifestyle is really just a shield he uses to protect himself. In an ordinary life, two people this different might never have crossed paths at all, but somehow, fate itself brings them together in the strangest possible way, letting them see each other's truest selves, and each other at their absolute worst. Ivan is there when Alice nearly falls apart, and Alice helps Ivan realize that beyond partying and running away, life can also offer a kind of peace and sincerity he has never really known. The two slowly begin healing each other, filling in the empty spaces in their lives piece by piece. Gradually, the distance between them becomes more than an obstacle. It turns into a unique kind of companionship. Day after day, as they keep seeing each other, a new kind of feeling quietly begins to grow between them. Then, on one ordinary day, Ivan suggests that Alice try a different hairstyle. As the scissors start cutting, it feels as though the heaviness that has followed her for so long is being cut away with her hair. Alice looks brighter and more relaxed on the other side of the mirror, and the two of them burst out laughing. In that quiet moment, all the weight of the past suddenly feels far away. Ivan then tells her that the last step toward truly moving on is giving herself a chance to fall in love again. But in a twist of irony, Alice completely misses what he is really trying to say. So when Ivan returns to the mirror, excitedly carrying wine and 2 glasses, Alice is already on a dating app, and has picked someone to meet. Alice never even notices that the moment she turns away, Ivan's expression quietly darkens. Before long, the day of Alice's date arrives. The man she meets is loud and full of himself, and his behavior is over the top and hard to take seriously. Just as the date turns painfully awkward, someone unexpectedly steps in to rescue Alice. What surprises her even more is that it is Ivan from Alice's own world. To this version of Ivan, Alice is still just the woman who once fought him for the apartment, but when he sees her in trouble, he does not hesitate to step in and help. One awkward moment unexpectedly breaks the tension between them. Maybe fate simply arranged things this way, or maybe it is because Alice already feels close to the Ivan she knows through the mirror. So being around this version of Ivan in her own world still feels familiar and safe. The conversation between them flows more and more easily, as if they have known each other for years. That night, the two of them turn all of St. Petersburg into their own private playground. They wander through the old street, grab hot street food together, stop along the river, and watch the lights shimmer on the water. The Ivan from Alice's world even makes her a ring by hand, and gently slips it onto her finger. Neither of them says anything, but the mood between them has clearly changed. By the next morning, neither one seems eager to say goodbye, but when she returns to her apartment, Alice suddenly remembers something. That on the other side of the mirror, Ivan in the other reality is still waiting for her. The moment he sees the ring on Alice's finger, all the hope and excitement in him seem to vanish almost immediately. Only then does he understand that he is losing to another version of himself. It turns out the greatest distance between two people is not thousands of miles. It is seeing the person you love right in front of you, while an entire reality keeps you from reaching them. If they can never build a future together, would letting go actually be the kinder choice? In the days that follow, Ivan takes Alice's advice, and seeks out the Alice who lives in his own world, apologizing for their old fight over the apartment. But once he actually spends time with her, he realizes that even though her face and personality are nearly identical, down to the same stubborn look in her eyes, something inside him still feels empty, as if the most important part is missing. Ivan begins to wonder, when we love someone, is it really their face and personality we love, or the times we have cried and laughed together, and the memories only the two of us share? Meanwhile, in Alice's reality, she also brings home the Ivan from her own world. He makes goofy faces and tells ridiculous stories, keeping Alice laughing non-stop. The two mess around like kids, and even reenact famous movie scenes. The room fills with laughter, and for a few brief minutes, everything between them feels completely natural. But when this Ivan tries to get closer, Alice instinctively pulls away. That is when she realizes the man standing in front of her is still a player who hasn't really changed. After being gently rejected, he walks into the bathroom, frustrated. Later, he starts flirting with another woman, without realizing for a second that every move he makes is being watched by Ivan across the mirror, who sees exactly what is happening. No one understands that other version of Ivan better than he does. Ivan is genuinely worried that Alice will be hurt by the version of him in her world, so when he sees her disappointed, he decides to tell her the truth. For the first time, Ivan reopens an old emotional wound. When he was 19, he fell deeply in love with someone. Back then, Ivan was sincere and all in, building almost his entire future around that relationship. But real life is not a fairy tale. On the very day Ivan had a ring ready and planned to propose, the woman he loved chose a richer guy instead. After that painful heartbreak, Ivan became the womanizer everyone sees today, moving from one short relationship to the next, refusing to make promises, refusing to settle down, and refusing to hand his heart to anyone again. Only Ivan himself really knows that the carefree attitude everyone sees is nothing more than armor he built around himself. Deep down, he still desperately wants to be loved. Alice and Ivan have seen each other at their worst, and they have also stayed beside each other through some of their darkest moments. By this point in the story, they both finally understand that the person who truly matters is the one they see on the other side of the mirror each day, the one each of them wants to spend the rest of their lives with. Even if someone in their own world has the exact same face, that person still is not the one they fell in love with. It is the long nights of conversation, the times they comforted and helped each other back up, that created a love no alternate version could replace. From that day on, Alice and Ivan are truly in love. To see each other more often, they place extra mirrors in almost every corner of the apartment. Although the two of them still cannot physically touch, the emotional bond between them and the sense of being understood have grown deeper than what many couples who share the same space ever experience. But those peaceful days do not last forever. One day, Alice glances into the mirror and sees her friend with Alice's counterpart in Ivan's world. Both of them are clearly visible on the other side of the glass. What makes Alice even more uneasy is that her friend seems to be trying to set her counterpart up with the Ivan she loved. Only at that moment does Alice finally admit a painful truth. No matter how much she and Ivan love each other, as long as they belong to different realities, they cannot truly build a life together. The thought hits her hard. Unable to hide her disappointment, Alice wanders outside in a daze. Without really thinking, she ends up at the bar from her earlier date, and there she finds the Ivan from her own world smoothly flirting with yet another woman. Alice walks straight over and ruins his date. Alice sees straight through this Ivan's smooth persona and tells him the truth. Beneath that carefree exterior is a man who has been afraid of getting hurt for a very long time. At that same moment, over in Ivan's reality, Constantine suddenly shows up at a party attended by Alice's counterpart in Ivan's world. In front of her, he keeps saying all the right things, acting gentle and attentive, while behind her back, he is still fully involved with his wife. Ivan hears every single word of that conversation. So when Constantine returns to Alice and keeps playing the devoted, loving man, Ivan can no longer contain his anger. Right in front of Alice, he exposes every one of Constantine's lies. But even then, Constantine shows no remorse. After the party, Ivan asks Alice's counterpart to stay a little longer, worried that learning the truth so suddenly might send her spiraling again. He deliberately cracks jokes, keeps the conversation light, trying to pull her out of that heavy mood, and even asks her to dance. But just as Alice's counterpart is standing very close to Ivan, Alice on the other side of the mirror ends up seeing everything. She does not confront him or interrupt the moment. She simply closes the bathroom door in silence, but she cannot shut out the pain and jealousy surging inside her. Ivan, meanwhile, knows exactly who he truly loves. Not wanting Alice to leave with the wrong idea, he immediately goes after her to explain. But on the other side of the mirror, Alice is already crushed. After thinking it through, she makes the most painful decision of all. Maybe real love is not about possession. Maybe it means knowing you will be hurt and still choosing to set the other person free. Alice lifts a heavy object and swings it straight into the mirror that has connected them for so long. As the glass shatters into pieces, the only link between the two realities is suddenly gone for good. Despite the pain, Ivan finds the Alice from his own world and tells her the truth. He cannot pretend to love her because the woman he loves is Alice on the other side of the mirror. Afterward, he returns to the apartment, unaware that breaking the mirror has already begun changing both realities. The moment he gets back, Ivan is stunned to realize that the place he once called home no longer belongs to him. Even a pair of Alice's shoes has somehow ended up on their neighbor Rosa's feet. Ivan realizes reality itself has changed, so he races out of the building. Outside, he sees the very Alice he fell in love with through the mirror. This time, Alice recognizes Ivan too, and they both realize the two realities have merged. With no glass separating them, Ivan can finally walk up and truly touch the woman he loves for the first time. After all those days of only being able to look at each other, Alice and Ivan finally embrace and share a real kiss. By the end of the movie, it would be easy to think this is simply a story about a fantastical romance between two parallel worlds. But what gives the movie its emotional weight is not just the mirror that connect two separate realities. It is also the people on either side of it who help each other become better versions of themselves. The presence of Alice helps Ivan overcome his fear of love, while Ivan's steady support helps Alice move beyond betrayal and self-doubt. Maybe every one of us has an invisible mirror of our own. On one side are our fears, our regret, and the steps we were too afraid to take. On the other is a version of ourselves that is braver, kinder, and more complete. Hopefully, one day, we find the courage to break down the walls inside us, to embrace the person who truly deserves our love, and to fully embrace the part of ourselves that is still learning to grow through love.